Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. It is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Bara, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joined as I always am by the usual crew. The man to my immediate right, stage right, left, whatever you are, Brooks. The man with whom you cannot spend 4 hours in a car without coming away smarter. The brilliant master engineer himself, who just built his own house. Who does that anymore? Dr. Brooks Agnew. Brooks, how you doing? What are you drinking tonight? I'm going straight water. What are you drinking?
I'm doing great. I'm drinking Perrier tonight. The house is done. Couch was delivered today. We should have fast internet next week, so hopefully we do the show from the new satellite studio.
That would be cool. And, of course, the man immediately on that side of the screen below me, though not below me in any other way, of course, is the brilliant, most attractive strip club owner in Nashville, Tennessee, the epic Cub reporter of the show at only 40-some years old.
Yeah.
Blake Wally. Blake, how you doing tonight? And what are you drinking? And when do the girls get to the club?
Well, hello. Doing well. Great to be here as always. Yeah, it's a little bit early, so I'm hanging out in the swanky lounge behind me. So we'll get the party started about 10 o'clock Central. Just make sure everybody comes down. I'm going to be opening up a new bottle of Maker's 46. Celebrate.
All right. And the man in the diagonal position over there in this Hollywood Square setup that we have here, the amazing, the stunning, the awkwardly gay. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Trail boss, the man whom you made dozens of appearances on Fox News, the trail boss himself, who's been the subject, the former second in command of internal security at Los Alamos National Laboratory, and the man for whom a 1 hour, 48 hours special was done all about him. Steve Doran, the trail boss, somewhere in nowhere Fuckville, Arkansas. Steve, you got something to tell the audience tonight, Steve?
NBC. Yeah, this is probably going to be my last show. After the last show that we did, Mike got a lot of complaints that said I was too politically incorrect. I'm too outspoken about different topics. So Mike thinks that probably I need to be replaced with somebody a little bit more demure than myself.
Yeah, you're too hot to handle, Steve.
Demure.
Okay. Just so you know, that's all bullshit. None of that's true. So just relax, everybody. He's not going anywhere. All right. Great to have you guys with us. And remember, kids, it's not Christmas until Giorgio Tsoukalos falls off the top of Nakatomi Tower. I just realized that today. He looks exactly like Giorgio.
Oh.
It's a fag, by the way. All right. Great to have you guys with us. I don't know where to start tonight. There's so much shit going on that I can't even really decide what to talk about first. I don't know. Let's talk about I guess we'll start. Let's go ahead and start. Sorry about this. Let's go ahead and start with just basic politics. There are rumors out there that Donald Trump, believe it or not, is considering replacing Pam Blondie. Now, normally this would be good news, except the rumor is who he's considering replacing her with is Trey fucking Gowdy, if you can believe that. Gowdy recently asked Trump for a favor on the golf course, and he received it. A full pardon. This, by the way, is Lindsey Graham That's Trey Gowdy. Look at that gay haircut. He wanted a full pardon for his client, Tim Lewicki, who had called Trump the greatest con man and praised Mike Pence on January 6th. This came 5 months after Trump's DOD indicted Lewicki for antitrust contract rigging. Just one day after, Trump played in the Trump-Graham Classic fundraiser with Lindsey Graham. Gowdy joined Trump for a round of golf at Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach. Would you support Trey Gowdy for Attorney General? And everybody else said, fuck no, Sydney, though, we would go. We would go for Sydney. So this seems, I guess the right word for me, Blake, is insane. Why would Trump do this insane?
I don't know if he's going by the past, because maybe if he just woken up out of a coma from 10 years ago, I'd be in love with the idea of getting a guy like Trey Gowdy. He was one of the real, I thought he was one of the best Congress people we had, but then he kind of left us very disappointed. I don't know if it's like comparable to Jim Jordan or something like that, where he just ends up writing an angry letters that go nowhere. He was supposed to end Hillary Clinton's career over Benghazi, but then nothing really came out of that. So he's kind of been disappointing in the way. He's a very smart guy, but is short on results, like so
He's
many
all
of the
talk,
other ones.
no action. Brooks, what do you think of this proposed idea? Is this a trial balloon, or is it more yapping Democratic bullshit?
Trey Gowdy is the barking poodle. Bark, 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 bark. I remember when he had Hillary Clinton down and had the opportunity to kick her in the head and put her away, and he walked away. He just walked away, and that was it. He is a great debater. Obviously, he's found his home on Fox News as a contributor. I guess that's where everybody starts before you get to the DOJ. But I think Trey Gowdy's a bad choice. You really want to put somebody in there that could do some good, put Sidney Powell in there.
Yeah.
I've met her. She's funny, she's smart, and she's tough as nails.
Steve Doran, Trail Boss, do you even know who the fuck Trey Gowdy is? And do you?
I do know who Trey Gowdy is, and he is
think?
a rhino coward.
Yep.
He's had multiple opportunities to change things in this country, and like Brooks said, he's just a yapping lapdog. And I think he's also pay for play. And I think when he had the opportunity to get some things done, a little cash was floated his way and he backed off. That would be my assumption, because after working in and around DC for as long as I did, in the morning you could have somebody on your side telling you how wonderful you were, and in the afternoon you were the Antichrist because somebody paid him off.
By the way, I forgot to mention, it is a well-established fact that icing the family jewels will increase testosterone to Steve Doran-like levels. Therefore, I would like to remind everybody that I am putting this ice pack right where it needs to be, and making this show even more.
Yeah, after that gay pounding you took this weekend with that outfit you were wearing, I can imagine you're pretty sore.
Which outfit was that, Steve?
Whatever it was that you were wearing at the house in Carson City or wherever the hell you went.
It was a fake tuxedo shirt. It was in Boulder City, at the Boulder City Christmas house. Yes, it's a wonderful place to go. Take the family. This might be the last year you'll see it. It's incredible. Man, are my balls cold. Okay, so another development, which is kind of funny. And before we get to the really interesting news, we have to go with this. Tim Walz, the Light in the Loafers vice presidential candidate who lost along with Kamala Harris in November of 2024, says that all of us, MAGA, are in fact afraid of him because he's too masculine.
Oh my gosh.
Listen to this.
But I think this notion of toxicity and masculinity needs to be separated. And I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And I think there is a crisis.
I think some of us scare
for
them.
men.
I think I scare them a little bit. Why they spend so much time on this? Because no, I'm serious. Because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting on this.
Yeah.
I'm not putting this in people's grill. I don't know if my identity is not hunting. My identity is not football coaching. My identity is not, a beard and a truck.
But I think this notion of
Okay, so personally, I can't. If Low T had a face, it would be these two guys. Absolutely be those two guys. Those guys right there. What the hell? Didn't it turn out that he wasn't a football coach, Blake? Didn't that turn out to be a lie? He claimed he was a football coach and didn't know anything about football?
I'm not 100% on the football coach. I think he was like on a high school level or something, but he did come under fire for the stolen valor, and that was a big thing.
I think he taught cheer. He was
That could have been too. He could have been the cheerleader. And I know there's some weird thing. I'm not going to go down that road, but like something with the horse when he was back in Nebraska. I'm going to leave that story alone. But yeah, he's got a lot of problems going on. I guess he was even like leaking secrets to the Chinese. He had people in his unit that were trying to call the FBI. Like this guy's got all kinds of problems. His wife is totally nuts. I don't know. He's such an imposter. I don't know how he rose to be governor of Minnesota, my former state. It's a national embarrassment, and now he's sitting there with the biggest scandal going on in the country.
Yeah.
He's
Also,
he's abusive to his handicapped kid.
Yeah. Also, one of my former states. Yeah, we saw that. Also, one of my former states, and I can tell you how it happened. Massive Democrat stealing and election fraud is how it happened. Steve,
Retarded Somalians being allowed to vote.
Yeah. Steve, are you afraid of Tim Walz kicking your ass? Because
Can't you see? I'm trembling right now. I'm absolutely terrified that Tim Walz might show up and knock on my door.
Yeah.
So, maybe he will. I mean, that would kind of be cool. I would film myself cowering in the corner with him knocking on my door, and it'd probably make national news.
Yeah, you probably would if you were 11 years old and you knew he was going to break in and try to butt fuck you, because he is accused credibly of being a pedo, and all I got to do is take a look at the guy. To me, he has pedo written all over him. Brooks, are you afraid of Tim Walz's masculinity, and how would you define masculinity if the face of masculinity is not Tim Walz? Who the hell is?
Wow. No, I'm not afraid. I'm actually open to the challenge. How would I describe masculinity? Us.
Well, this show, yeah.
This show right here.
Well, I would describe it not Mike myself.
We are masculinity, if you really want to know. Speak your mind, hold your ground, be proud of what you say, and live your life. That's masculinity.
Yeah. Do what you want and fuck them if they can't take a joke.
That's right.
Great way to describe it, yes. And drink more whiskey. Okay. Moving to slightly more serious subjects. There was a peace deal put on the table this week for peace and an end to the Ukraine war. And what it involves is the Russians keeping everything that they've taken and nothing more, as I understand it. And Zelensky basically talked to Trump and apparently got the input that we're done helping you. We're done because you won't negotiate a peace settlement with the Russians. Now, you guys know where I stand on this. If the Canadians put bioweapons labs and nuclear facilities that could be weaponized within, 20 miles of our border, I would absolutely support going in there, invading, taking them all out, and not giving that land back to the Canadians ever, to create a buffer zone. I don't have a problem with anything Putin's done. In fact, I have a real problem with Zelensky, who I think is a corrupt traitor, but he does apparently have some leverage. He's a figurehead. He's obviously just a front man for the people who really want war, and who really wants war with Russia, who really wants World War III. You ask, well, guess what? Let's go take a look at the Euro clowns, Euro trash, who want war with Russia. Here they are. That's Macron and Starmer, who's a pedophile, by the way, and I forget who the.
Promise Ukraine won't be pressured into a bad deal. Can this ceasefire work?
So he apparently
Leaders trust the president to be on the right side of history.
right side of history.
Is Ukraine being pushed into a bad deal by the Americans, Mr. President, Chancellor? Will you back a deal that gives Russia Ukrainian land, Prime Minister? What's your message to President Putin?
Okay, so that was the scene as he met outside 10 Downing Street. And I, again, probably think that Keir Starmer didn't actually win the election in Britain, but that is the reality on the ground. It seems to me, Brooks, first of all, these lands are not Ukrainian. They're Russian. That's why there's so many Russians living there that were being bombed and attacked and murdered by NATO, who was pretending that it was some sort of territorial dispute with Ukraine in order to incite this war. It looks to me like what's happening on the outside is that Trump is basically saying to Zelensky, you don't want peace, fuck you, you're on your own. And now Europe is trying to say, or pose at least, that they're going to step up and take over. Great, let's bankrupt Europe. What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, it boils down to I guess, a delusion that Great Britain has that it's still leading the European community. And the British wanted to destroy the Russians. They live on a freaking island and they want to destroy the Russians. So they're the ones that tore up the Minsk agreement, which was the first peace agreement that we had before this all started between Ukraine and Russia. They tore it up. And they basically said, look, we'll settle this on the battlefield. And Putin said, fine, we'll settle it on the battlefield. Well, now Putin's saying Europe is in effect at war with us. And if they want to have war, we're not going to play nice and we're not going to play surgical like we are with Ukraine. Those are our people. We will wipe the EU out. And we are not afraid of your gays and trannies and purple hair, nose ring, and your Muslims. We're not afraid of you. We will wipe you out. And Russia's prepared to do that. They don't want to, but they're prepared to do it.
What do you think the chances are that military action of like an invasive kind into Russia actually happens coming out of these events? Or is Zelensky just begging for crumbs? And I mean, can Macron and Starmer, can they even afford to supply weapons?
No, they couldn't. And there will never be an invasion of Russia. Just not going to happen. Putin even made a comment about Napoleon. He made a comment about the Nazis. Noble tries. But Europe, they are not afraid of at all.
Yeah. Blake, you watch this sort of, kind of. Do you think there's any chance of a peace agreement in Ukraine anytime soon? Or I think personally that Zelensky has to be removed, and I mean by any means necessary, before anything moves. There have been some revelations about Ukrainian corruption, finally. Is there any movement on this front?
That part I'm not sure. That's what I heard, that he was given an ultimatum and that he would have to step down because the corruption charges did reach the highest levels and they had the goods and he had served his purpose and it was time to go. I'm also hearing that the UK and the EU are working together. They want to continue this war at all costs and apparently even like threaten Trump. Now this is coming from Amuse. He's a sock puppet journalist, but he was saying that they had threatened the EU and UK threatened Trump that they were going to pull $2.3 trillion of U.S. treasuries and dump them and crash our dollar if he doesn't continue the war. Meanwhile, he's trying to fight for peace. So yeah, there's too many other powers at play here, and they just cannot lose to the Russians. I don't know how far they want to play this game because, yeah, the Russians aren't going to play the same rules, and that is pretty terrifying how they would treat these soft little Europeans, these Macrons and Starmers, these bureaucrats from the EU that want to play tough guy. It's not going to work out very well. So yeah, we got a big problem. It should never have happened, and now we're still dealing with it.
Yeah, you know what? If you want to dump $2.3 trillion of Federal Reserve treasuries on the market and crash the dollar, that's fine with me because I'm holding a whole bunch of assets that when we go gold back are going to make me really fucking rich. So you go right ahead and do that. Steve, Doran, what do you think are the chances of peace in Ukraine? And I mean, there's some comments over here. What do you think? Are we reaching finally an end game point here, or is Trump just going to punt the ball again and come back in 3 months and try another set of negotiations?
Well, I hope so, because I'm tired of any American asset being used in the Ukraine. I don't care. I don't want to send them a penny. I don't want to send them a bullet. I don't want to send them a piece of gum. And I'd like to see them close the peace deal. But I'm telling you, I think that Europe is just posturing because they know that Putin can completely wipe them off the face of the earth. And so they're trying to show all this bravado when the reality is that he holds all the cards in that one.
Yeah. Okay. So another interesting thing
Without the United States, they're screwed, is what.
That's what I think too. When I say let's just cut them off, let's just say, look,
Yeah.
There's a peace deal in place. These lands are not yours. They're Russian. They voted to be Russian. We've declared it a legitimate vote, which I believe it probably was. And the new lines are drawn right here. Take it or leave it. And if you leave it, we're done giving you anything.
Right.
Wouldn't that sort of push things?
You would hope so. I mean, that's the whole problem. You can't, if he completely pulled all support out and said, Europe, you take it, they can't do it. They can't do anything without us. So I think the peace deal would go through very quickly.
Yeah. And interestingly, today, Anna Paulina Luna, who doesn't have a lot of power in Congress, tweeted out something, that might indicate that was talking about the persecution of Christians now going on in Ukraine, which is supposed to be a Eastern Orthodox Christian nation. But what she said was rather interesting. So tell me, how is the U.S. not funding the persecution of Christians in Ukraine when we're literally giving money to the government that's carrying it out, meaning the government of Ukraine? And she said, stop sending American tax dollars to Ukraine. Personally, I think that would be a very popular public position for President Trump to take. Do any of you guys disagree with me?
I disagree because we have been, sending money and weapons and all kinds of stuff to the Middle East, and they've been persecuting Christians for hundreds of years, openly, murdering them, burning babies, putting Christians inside of metal cages and setting them on fire. And yet we still continue to conduct business with them. We still continue to supply them with arms and money and you name it, aircraft, all that kind of stuff. So, in Nigeria, they're really doing nothing about that. So why would anybody care about the Ukraine? It's just another Christian getting persecuted. Nobody cares. Now, if it's a Muslim, if it's a Palestinian, if it's a retarded Palestinian inbred, we're going to scream and we're going to march and we're going to, go lay down in the street, do all kinds of stuff. But if it's a Christian, we're hands off.
Nope, not going to happen. Anybody else have anything to chime in on this, Brooks?
Well, it's more than just politics. Ukraine, you have to go understand how it was created. It's a region, not really a country. And what happened after World War II is UN just kind of boxed up the Balkan states and created the Ukraine with these 5 states on the eastern side of it as part of that region, part of the Donbass. So somehow NATO claimed that it was their sovereign territory and Russia needed to stay out. Well, the trouble is, as you mentioned earlier, Russians have been there for 300 years. So the job at hand, Victoria Nuland, Johns, McCain, and Kerry, was to kick the Russians out. And they started doing it in 2014. And by 2022, Putin had had enough. So he went in and he kicked their ass. It took him about 4 weeks to do it, to get them out of there and establish these 5 states. Crimea at first led the way with their election in 2014, and then the other 4 states followed. And by the way, all those elections were monitored by the UN, and they were determined to be legit elections.
Right. Right.
Well, and the reality is the Ukraine is only as strong as it is because of the Russians.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the only reason that they, to be blunt, they have a pot to piss in is because of the Russians and the Russians strengthening them, during the Cold War.
Yeah.
And teaching them how to fight, teaching them how to, teaching them tactics, that type of thing.
Exactly right. And
so, I mean, that's the only reason that they're even a player in the game.
In 2013, when Viktor Yanukovych, the duly elected president of Ukraine, signed the loan deal with Putin instead of the transatlantic banks, that's what started the whole war in the first place.
Yeah, it's a situation needs to. And let's get out of this question. Go to the next one. Let's go do a quick vote. Do you think there's any chance of a peace agreement in the Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, before the end of the year? Blake, yes or no?
No.
Steve, yes or no?
No.
Brooks, yes or no?
No, it would have to be a forced peace, which is not peace.
I say yes, but I'm optimistic. Laura, thank you for the $10 super chat. Remember, you guys can super chat on the YouTube side of the house, and you can rumble around on the Rumble side of the house, so I can afford to get these guys some Christmas presents. All right. Interestingly, as things stand now, this is not the only hotspot in the world. Obviously, we know there are other hotspots in the world, including Venezuela. Jen, if you're watching, Venezuela. Let's watch. There's a lot of pressure on Maduro right now. The president was asked about it back in October. This is what he said, and it was the beginning of a new policy. Let's hear what he had to say.
He's pretty silent.
Yeah.
You know why?
I'm doing the ASL.
He doesn't want to fuck around with the United States.
The natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Maduro offers everything in
So
in
that
country,
was really
natural
interesting.
resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently.
That was kind of interesting because I thought it signaled a shift in the way we were approaching things. Now we have a carrier task force off the coast of Venezuela. We have declared their airspace closed, and there are heavy rumors that there are negotiations going on with Maduro right now. What I heard is Maduro wanted to take 1,000 people with him into exile, and the United States said no, because somebody's going to have to answer for your narco terrorism. And everybody's like, oh, it's about the oil. Trump's trying to get a hold of the oil. Well, Venezuela has a lot of oil. So does the U.S. We have plenty for the next several hundred years. We don't need their oil right now. We may not need it in the future as new technologies develop. I think this is about two other things. We talked about them last week. The voter fraud being run out of Venezuela since about 2005 worldwide. All of the voting fraud machines have all run through Venezuela. And the other thing is the revaluation of the bolivar, of the Venezuelan bolivar, which could generate trillions of dollars in potential revenue overnight. And I think Donald Trump is not going to let a commie narco terrorist get his hands on that money. So I think before that happens, which is hopefully soon, they are going to get rid of Maduro. I think that's the plan. And here's the interesting thing about it. What happened today is actually kind of bizarre. We had the so-called loser, Edmundo Gonzalez, the loser in the last presidential election in 2024, went to Oslo today, where the Venezuelan vice president and the rest of the government in exile is right now. There he is with Maria Corina Machado, the vice president. They all met in Oslo, and the hot rumor is that the Supreme Court and Assembly in Exile of Venezuela is going to tomorrow declare, get this, that he is the legitimate government, the replacement government for Maduro. Maria Corina Machado is there to receive the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Gonzalez has come there. The legitimate president-elect will stand beside her on stage. The rumors are that she will be vice president in the incoming transitional government. Panama's Molino and other leaders from Argentina, Ecuador, guys like Miele, and Paraguay are going to be in attendance for regional support. And the message is going to be Maduro must leave now. Brooks, do you know much of anything about this? But do you, and mostly, do you see something finally happening, let's say before the end of the year in Venezuela?
Yeah, I do. Several ultimatums have been given to Maduro, and his circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Maduro keeps trying to make deals that will help him survive. And basically, Trump has said, no deal. The best thing you can do is pack your bags. Now, these are not idle threats. American iron in the form of ships and planes and special forces are already moving on Venezuela. Venezuela thinks it can defend itself. It can't. The two things that are going to fall, one is the election infrastructure.
Election stealing, computer infrastructure.
Right. And the other is the facilitation of saving Venezuela and getting it back up and on its feet in our hemisphere. And that's basically the problem. We're talking about the Monroe Doctrine here. This is our hemisphere, not theirs. And the commies need to get out. So they believe if they get rid of Maduro, they'll solve this problem. I'm doubtful of that because I think the CIA is deeply rooted in Venezuela.
If they go in and get access to all of the records of the voting machine companies, which I'm not going to name because I don't want to get sued, but who cares, that are there and expose everything there, including the fraud in the 2020 election. The thing about this, why this is interesting to me, Blake, is because if they do get their hands on that information or use an invasion as saying, as an excuse to say, look what we found that they've already got. The 2020 election in the U.S. was fraud around in Venezuela. It's a pivot point. It shifts everything because right now Trump is not looking good, to be honest with you, with some of the things he's doing. Do you think that there's any chance that something serious is going to happen here? And I don't necessarily mean military intervention. I just mean that Maduro and the commies, the narco commies, get pushed out.
Yeah, it looks like it's far worse than anybody expected, and there was some big way. I'm just catching word of this like recently in the last an hour before the show, but I guess Patrick Byrne, former Overstock CEO, made huge waves by outing himself as being involved with the CIA, and he dropped some major bombshells today doing some of the interview rounds. He did mention he's a CIA operative. He mentioned that Rick Grinnell, a Trump advocate that we've heard of the name, is compromised. He was allegedly involved with an underage boy, and that Russia's got the dirt on him. Yeah. They got CIA Director John Ratcliffe compromised, not with underage, but other things in hotel rooms that he shouldn't have been doing. Todd Blanche from the DOJ is suppressing evidence. And he's also blown the lid on Venezuela as that they've had a multi-decade war against the United States and using, well, I'll use the name because it's from Patrick Byrne, is Smartmatic. And so they've been involved with rigging elections in 72 countries, plus running fentanyl to the United States, calling 2020 election overthrow worse than Pearl Harbor. And also, the Doge investigation apparently from Elon also uncovered a ton of money has been going into Venezuela, much like we've seen, Ukraine. So that is the new hotspot. It is in our hemisphere. So, it's time to crack down. There's more than meets the eye.
Yeah, I think there's more than meets the eye here, too. And another thing I want to share is this is a tweet apparently from Secretary Marco Rubio. There's no date on this, which makes it suspect to me, but I would assume it has to be this year since it's Secretary Rubio. And as far as I know, this is not fake or AI generated. But he did say, apparently, in a tweet, Maduro is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the Cartel de los Solos, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. That is also true. I think if I go back up a little bit, I do have that indictment image. Yeah, there is apparently there it is, an actual $50 million price on Maduro's head. Steve, it kind of feels to me like there might be some action here. Do you really think anything will come of this? Do you expect us to go into Venezuela anytime soon?
I don't think we'll have to. What I'd like to see happen, I would like to see some of the information on the voter fraud and that type of thing released from there. Like even if it's a get even with the current regime, where they start releasing information about American politicians and these companies that were involved in the voter fraud. I'd love to see that start to happen, but I don't think we're going to have to go in because they know that if we do, it's almost ultimately instant destruction. And so it's easier for them just to back down and go away.
Okay, so let's get out of this particular issue. Does anybody think that the Venezuela situation, in terms of Maduro being removed, gets resolved before New Year's Day? Brooks?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Blake?
We only got a few weeks. I'll just say no, but I think that they are pressing that one. So I'll just I'll say after the first.
After the first. Steve, what do you think? Do you think Venezuela is dealt with, Maduro's removed before the end?
After the first.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but that's what I think too. Remember when Iran was on the brink of collapse and they were going to bring in Pahlavi? We're still sitting here 6 months later and it hasn't happened. So I do think the gears of these things.
I have one. We remember Noriega. That's what's going to happen.
Well, the Noriega thing, and I saw an interesting post. If you guys do not remember, I think it was 1989 when Bush won, basically used presidential powers without any approval from Congress to go in and capture Noriega based on a whole series of legal processes that apparently are also in place for Venezuela, basically saying they're threatening the security, national security of the United States, and they're running drugs, and you can use the same excuses to go in a limited manner and remove Maduro if he doesn't quit. Sounds like he's ready to quit, though, if these rumors are true. So we'll just have to wait and see, because I think Venezuela, again, is a very, very important country for what's going to happen the rest of this year and into next year, and maybe in the overall war against the deep state as it stands now. Okay, shifting gears. I don't think all of you guys know who Tim Pool is, but Tim Pool is an influencer. He's this dorky guy who wears a beanie on every show, and I have hair.
Yeah,
wears a beanie, and all of a sudden, I don't know, 2 years ago, I started seeing people like Jack Posobiec talking about the Tim cast. And, I don't know where the fuck these people come from, but I watched his content and there was nothing special about it. But he got pushed into the limelight, and he is considered a conservative influencer. And there are people like Laura Loomer saying he's taking money from Qatar, or he's taking money from Israel, or he's taking money anyway. He and Candace Owens have been having a bit of a feud, and Candace Owens has some pretty serious problems. Now, Blake, I know you're kind of a defender of Candace, but he went off on a rant on Candace Owens today. This is a relatively short video. Let's bring it up and let's do a quick thing and watch a little bit of it. And Tim Pool apparently was important enough that he got to ask a question at a White House press briefing, alternative media seat, where he still wore the stupid beanie. So, okay. Let's listen to what he had to say in his, what people are calling an unhinged rant, where he called her an evil scumbag and a degenerate cunt. Sounds like this show.
Candace Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is a degenerate cunt. She is burning everything down. and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages have no fucking balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these fucking messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't fucking DM me like I did something for you as you cower, as you fucking cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right fucking now.
Yeah, that was the.
I'm fucking done with these people.
Okay, so Blake, perhaps you can fill us in on the context of this a little better. Candace has been making a lot of wild claims lately about, I don't know, Israel killing Charlie Kirk and his own team killing Charlie Kirk. And we don't know who killed Charlie Kirk, so that's still up in the air. We don't really
Egypt? I thought Egypt killed Charlie Kirk. That was her last
did
one.
Egypt kill it? And so Candace has been marginalized, but you kind of like Candace. I'm going to throw this to you, and I assume you know who Tim Pool is and follow him a little bit. But what the hell is going on here in Conservativille?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, but we're seeing MAGA completely split over this, and you got two huge names into it. So I've been following Tim Pool since the beginning, or at least I remember. He became a star overnight, I think, from the Michael Brown case with the police shooting in St. Louis, and he did his live coverage and his streams, and he did a fantastic job with that. So everybody liked him, and he is a very talented guy who has made a media empire and probably maybe the top indie broadcaster on YouTube for a number of years. So he is a big deal, but you're seeing that big split. And so, and Candace, yeah, she does have a lot of wild stuff that she's putting out. It does sound like true crime drama, but she's the only one asking questions. And she was very close to Charlie, where most of these guys like Tim Pool, they don't want to answer the questions. We talk about like, oh, how did, Tyler, is engraving on the bullets and it's a 30-06. And they don't want to ever answer those questions. Their whole standpoint is basically like, oh, they don't want to like taint the jury pool. So whenever this thing goes to trial, then they're going to bring out their evidence and we can trust everything the FBI says. So I'm very disappointed by so many in the indie media that are just, instead of like addressing some of the questions, they're just bashing Candace as though she's crazy. So I kind of have to take her side by default on that one, because I'm also the one that likes to answer questions. I'm curious. I want to know more. Don't tell me about the jury pool. But until this trial happens early next year, 2026 is totally screwed. MAGA is never going to get together, and we are going to lose to the leftists in the midterms until we can resolve our differences, and that is pending on this trial.
Okay, another person who went after Candace Owens rather intensely was Laura Loomer, who I happen to love because I think she's nuts. Faithful. Well, who's nuttier? This is okay, so she posted this. Fuck Candace Owens. This woman would be in her basement under the name Red Pill Black if it weren't for President Trump. She owes her entire career to President Trump and his family. She even had her wedding at one of his properties. She's the biggest grifter and opportunist. She's always a liberal. She was always a liberal and doesn't speak for me, MAGA, or the Trump base. Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for securing many peace deals, not just between Israel and Hamas. She doesn't speak for MAGA. She has and always will only speak for herself and the voices in her head. I'm so sick of these ingrate influencers attacking Donald Trump after they used him to acquire wealth and fame. Fuck this bitch. So, guys, are we seeing a bigger pattern here, Steve, where these people are being turned against Trump? Tucker Carlson has kind of gone off the deep end. Tucker Carlson, faithful Make America Great Again American, just bought a big estate in Qatar. He's owned by Qatar. There's links of there's links and money laundering apparently, like between Candace and Tim Pool and Qatar and other Saudi states and Israel and all this shit. Were these people, Steve, ever really on the side of MAGA, or were they always just meant to drive a wedge into MAGA at the right time, which apparently is decided now?
Well, I think they're opportunists, and they're going to take whatever opportunity they can to make money. Candace's husband, he's been linked to Qatar and Muslim money for a long, long time. So, it doesn't surprise me, that they spin. It's always, it's the Jews, it's the Protestants, it's the MAGAs, it's this, it's that. None of this surprises me at all because of the people who are controlling them and the people who are paying them. They're gonna spew out whatever they're told to say. And that includes Tucker, that includes Candace, and several of these other people, because you'll see that the direction that they're going, you see how quote unquote pro-American they are. And within a very short period of time, they turn their back. I don't care who turns their back on President Trump, doesn't matter to me. But it's when they turn their back on the United States of America and the citizens of the United States of America, that's what bothers me.
Yeah, and I think you can possibly throw Marjorie Taylor Greene in there too. Are these people all on the take? Brooks, is that what's been going on?
Well, you have to understand these influencers, Tim Pool and others, they are influencers because Google has chosen them. Make no mistake about it. Tim Pool did not make his own name. Candace Owen did not make her own name. They were gifted this prominence by Google through YouTube and their other media outlets. They're the ones that choose the search terms. They're the ones that decide whether you get to stay on YouTube and whether anybody sees your YouTube or not. I put our content up against any of them. It's better, it's more honest, it's more raw. But do we have the influence? No, because Google hasn't chosen us. It just comes.
They not only didn't choose us, they cut us off.
Yeah,
they actively suppress us.
Because, like I said, I was getting millions. You can look. I was getting millions of views. Now I'm lucky to get 15.
I was doing 500,000 a week. I had 5,000 live anytime I was on the air. Yeah, now I'm lucky to get 300.
And again, you know what? When I go to Twitter X or I go to YouTube, I look, and the first thing I look at is how long have you been on this platform? And if the answer is since 2009 or 2010 or 2013, I know immediately not to pay attention to this person at all. Do you know why, Blake?
Because they weren't kicked off.
Because they weren't kicked off. Yeah. If you were saying anything that actually threatened the establishment or went against the mainstream grain, you would have been bounced off a long time ago. That is your litmus test. If they've been on a certain social media platform for a long time, they never got to bank, they never got removed, they never got their account canceled, they never had to start over from scratch. Do not trust them. And that is one thing I will say about Laura Loomer is she's pissed a lot of people off that I don't agree with. So if those people are getting pissed off at her, I suspect she's on to something.
I remember the days when Twitter canceled Laura Loomer, and she was awesome. What did she do? She went to San Francisco and she chained herself to Twitter's front door.
Yeah.
That's what she had to do to get notoriety. I like Laura Loomer.
Well, I used to like her. She's great. She's extremely talented. And up until a few months ago, I used to think she was great, even though she's like a flaming narcissist. She's very effective at what she does, but I look at her more of like a mercenary than I would as a journalist. And and since Charlie Kirk's assassination, she's just been unhinged, going after Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, and everyone's a Jew hater or everyone's on the payroll of Qatar, and she's doing all the plastic surgery. I don't get it.
I will say in her defense, a lot of those pictures are Photoshop. That's not what she really looks like. She takes pictures every day and says, "This is me." That plastic surgery stuff is apparently not true. I will defend her on that. And she's not a very pretty woman, but she is, like you say, incredibly talented and terrific forensic inspector. If I wanted to find out about somebody in the public eye, what's their dirt on them, who are they really associated with, I would hire her in a flash to do that for me. I think she's amazing at it. So is the MAGA influencer the infrastructure of it, guys, is it all falling apart? I mean, Tucker, I have plenty of problems with Tucker. Some of the shit I've heard out of his mouth, I think, is nuts. He did a 9/11 video that is full of egregious errors that I could have corrected him on any time. You know, it's just full of bullshit. So he's spreading bullshit, and he's also been telling the truth. It's like he completely flipped from being a guy you could trust to bring the real news, like we do on this show, to a guy I don't think you can trust anymore. So, I mean, do you think that this whole infrastructure that we have of these current influencers, is it collapsing? Tim Pool and Tucker and Candace and Laura, are they all going to take themselves out of the game, Blake?
Well, I think Candace is absolutely thriving. She's number one. She's taking over. She's got a ton of fans and a lot of support. I see, Loomer getting roasted right and left, looking at like the comments, and she's, like I said, unhinged and saying a lot of crazy stuff. Roger Stone is even taking her to task, saying they're going to expose it. I don't know where she's getting her money. I don't care, but I just want to see, like, is she just paid? Like I'm saying, she's a mercenary more than she's a journalist. Although I do agree with you, if you needed her to do some stuff and go to work on somebody, would be absolutely qualified.
Roger Stone, although I don't, I do defend him getting arrested at 6:30 in the morning. I'd like to see everybody responsible for that get the same treatment he got. I don't think much of Roger Stone's intellect, to be honest with you. I don't think he's very smart. Brooks, anything you want to say about this, or Steve? Because we're going to still stay on the influencers.
I agree with Laura in that Candace is a grifter. She was with Turning Point in the very beginning when Charlie was sleeping on people's couches out of high school, trying to put the movement together. He did lay his hands on some money, put together some big events, Turning Point events, where he had top-notch speakers, Ted Cruz, President Trump. I mean, he had top-notch speakers, and he got a lot of money coming in, a lot of money. And when that happens, you're going to have people like Candace Owens glued to you. And when you don't give them the notoriety, you don't share the throne with them, they turn into what Candace Owens is right now.
Yeah, didn't Candace marry some guy worth $300 million? She turned her notoriety into marrying some near billionaire or something, and I mean, I don't blame her, but is it really love? Well,
it's all bizarre, man. All these people, there's red flags with everybody. There's no like real heroes in this, it seems like. And
there's only 4 real heroes, and they're sitting right here.
Outside of us, of course. Right.
There you go.
And we're real heroes because we don't make a dime.
Yeah, exactly.
I
haven't even bought you guys your gift cards for Christmas yet. Let me see if I got to make a house payment this month. Might not have to. No. All right. Speaking of influencers, I don't know, and I had never heard the name Nick Fuentes until about 6 months ago. I'm sure Steve doesn't know who the fuck he is. I really don't know who the fuck he is. All I know is that he pisses a lot of people off. He's young. He's a little weird, eccentric. I'm sure, Blake, you know better who he is than I do. And he has some very interesting opinions. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that Piers Morgan had him on last night to interview him. And of course, it was a typical Piers Morgan ambush interview. He ambushed the guy. And this young punk put it right back in his face. And I'm going to play 3 or 4 clips, which I'm just going to tell you are a little bit edgy. Even for this show, they're a little edgy. Let's watch this guy, and then we'll kind of talk about who. I don't know who won these exchanges, but let's do this one. This is the first clip. Piers Morgan asking Nick Fuentes, claiming he's a Holocaust denier. Let's see what happens here.
Want to talk seriously about the Holocaust?
I do actually. I mean, I do, because I just find it extraordinary that you would think the Holocaust could ever be something that we could joke about.
Why, too soon?
I actually know who this guy is.
It has been like 70 years. Wow. Talk about getting right back in your face. Now, it gets even weirder than that as we go through this, guys. It's going to get even weirder. Why too soon? Now he's going to ask him about why he hasn't.
Basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah. Wait.
Basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid. Basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you?
Okay, so people have put this in the context of he's a virgin for religious reasons. Is that correct? Shaming him for he says he's Catholic. I don't know, but then it gets even weirder. About when he gets asked about Hitler.
And here's why. Why is Hitler cool? I'll tell you why very simply. Because what Hitler represents is if white people didn't give a fuck. That's what it represents. When you see Hitler, when you see the edits, when you see the vision, and what is the vision? The vision is grand architecture, beautiful fashion, an unstoppable military. You see white people without limits, without restraint. You see white people without the self-imposed guilt, the shame. When people see a Hitler edit and say, that's cool, they don't think about the Holocaust. There's nothing cool about killing people. I'll just go on the record and say that. There's nothing cool about killing people. There's nothing cool about exterminationist ideology. There's nothing cool about anything like that. That's not why people are tickled by it. That's not why people are electrified by it. That's not part of the appeal. The appeal is not the weird pagan stuff that took place. The appeal is not the cruelty. The appeal is not the bigotry or the racial hatred. That's not the appeal. The appeal is that we have been living, and by we, I mean Americans, Westerners, white people, Christians. We are living in a time where all we know is self-imposed shame and guilt and self-hatred, hating ourselves, hating our ancestors, having to apologize, rejecting the self, elevating and supporting the other, the racial and ethnic minority, the immigrant, the refugee, the someone of a different religion, the oppressed, the marginalized, the dysfunctional, whatever. And we have to feel sorry. We have to feel bad. We have to listen to HR representatives. We have to do environmental studies. We have to do studies about indigenous peoples. We have to do land acknowledgments. This is the society we've grown up in. We watch movies where we're the villains, TV shows where we're the villains, always. You watch Chicago PD. Great show. Chicago PD, it's a show, it's a drama about police in Chicago. What do police in Chicago have to deal with every day? What in real life? Take a wild guess. What do Chicago police in real life have to deal with? They have to deal with black gangbangers in the South Side, the West Side, the teen takeovers. They have to deal with the Latin Kings. They have to deal with Hispanic gang members. In the show, you would know that. It's always white people. And in the movies, the villain, always white people.
Okay, so I find this sort of interesting, different. This is, again, then he goes on to do this. This is even weird.
And that's a clip. I think
a prominent conservative in America has to say about Adolf Hitler. Now, what do you mean by Hitler is very fucking cool? Because I think he's very fucking a monster.
Okay. And that's a clip. I think he's very fucking a monster.
Do you hear yourself?
Yeah,
I mean, can we all grow up?
I do.
Can we all grow
He
up?
murdered
That
12
is just
million
childish.
people. He murdered 12 million people. What is very fucking cool about that? Tell me.
The edits, it's just cool. The uniforms, the parades, it's cool as a guy. You look at World War II and it's fascinating and it's interesting and it's compelling and it's cool. And
a prominent conservative.
Okay, so there's that. And then the last one, The last one.
He told me, I'll tell you.
So how do they feel when you say you just want to be away from any black people, walk away from them?
Well, you know what Ye told me? I'll tell you verbatim what he said. He said, so you use the N-word. I said, yeah. He goes, well, when niggas are being niggas. I said, so true. That's so true. So they feel like they're in complete agreement with me.
What does that mean?
It means that even black people know how black people can behave. Even black people understand it.
Wow. So, he was talking about Kanye West. This was explosive. Steve, you got any thoughts on this guy? I'm most curious about you. I think for a little itty bitty dude who's never been laid, he's got some balls on.
Well, in a lot of ways, he's 100% correct. I mean, let's face reality. Since Obama took office, you're supposed to be ashamed that you're white. You're supposed to be ashamed of your heritage. You're supposed to listen to how they changed history and how, the white population did nothing and the ethnic population did everything. And so, people have grown tired of being victimized for actually assisting society, grow. If it wasn't for us, if it wasn't for the white middle class, there would be no SNAP benefits. There would be no military. There would be, all these things would cease to exist without us, yet we are portrayed as the bad guy. We are, we're told that if all the black people left the United States, it would completely collapse because they're the ones that build it and they're the ones that keep it running. We know that's false, right?
Right.
So we know that they're a minority in the population. They commit a majority of the crimes, and they dang sure commit a majority of the heinous crimes that happen in this country. So, I think he's taking the wrong approach by, using Hitler as a hero. But the reality is that, the younger generation is just sick and tired, and my generation is, and, your generation as well, are just sick and tired of being, looked at as
for everything. Yeah, blame for everything.
Yeah, and we're the ones who keep everything going.
And by the way, Stalin and communists killed far more people than the Nazis and Hitler did.
Oh, yeah.
And yet they're cool. People walk around with Che Guevara t-shirts. Che Guevara was a psychopathic, genocidal fucking maniac.
Right. And they want to return to, and they want, the United States to embrace communism and all those things. But my point is that, we're not the bad guys. Middle-aged white guys are not the bad guys. And, when you look at the statistics, the problems that we have in this country are liberal white women, the way that they vote, and the people that they put into power.
Yep.
I'm sorry, if you're a liberal woman, woman, you're a retard, and you need to lose your ability to vote because you've screwed this country time and time again.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That is an absolute fact because they go totally 100% on emotion. They should have never been given the right to vote. And that's
Let's not get into repealing the 19th Amendment right now. Brooks, I think that what this conversation illustrated, Steve kind of hit it there, is the generational divide between the old simpy, dick-eating Karens like Piers Morgan and the young kids are saying, fuck this. We're not taking responsibility for this. We're good people. We're smart. We're creative. We built.
Well, when you have children, when you have babies, and I mean babies in elementary school and kindergarten being told that they're evil.
Yeah.
And that they have suppressed the minorities. I mean, what kind of stupid, ignorant nonsense is that?
Yeah.
And this kid comes home, he's bawling. He's like scared to death because he's been told that he's the enemy of the state.
Yep. Brooks, any thoughts on the generational divide and what do you think it means for the future? It looks to me like there's two perspectives, the young people and the old people. It's kind of on the old liberals anyway. They're on a collision course.
Well, I've been ready for a long time to turn in my white privilege card. It has it has not gotten me anything in my life.
Yeah.
And by the way, if there's any banks out there or whatever that automatically give us money, please let us know so we can come and get one of those loans.
Well, you have to have the racial privilege card for that.
You have that, Steve? If you don't have that,
I get where Nick is coming from. He's a little sensational about it. He's doing it for clicks. But you look at how easily the left throws the accusation of Hitler out there. Nazis and Hitler. They use it daily. Then they get offended when we call them retards. But you don't look at the logic behind how Germans got behind the Holocaust. They got behind it because for 50 years, the Jewish people controlled all the money in Germany. And that was what Hitler was rebelling against. Now, it wound up being something twisted and evil, and it's turned into a historical point no one wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. But them's the facts. And I got to tell you, in this country, we're not happy with bankers at all. And if we had a chance to get back at bankers, we would do it in this country.
Just replace Jews with bankers, maybe. It's interesting too. If you look at the original Nazi propaganda statements, they were more like policy statements.
Sure.
They said, we want to get rid of, in our country, the Jewish bankers and the Freemasons. Those were the two that they named. Pretty different perspective than what you're taught about.
Because Jews and Freemasons got the loans. They were able to run their businesses. And Germans could not.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy. TV's Blake Wally, before I let you off the hook here with a cultural thing later, what did you think of this? And did you watch the entire Piers Morgan interview? Because now I want to watch the whole thing. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, not the entire thing, just some of the highlights. And I probably started about 25 minutes into it, and it's a 2-hour thing. So I think I've got the gist of it. And I've been following Nick for a while too. I guess he got his start from the Daily Wire, or he used to be like just a young kid in college with the red MAGA hat, and then he developed a whole thing. Yeah, good for him. He's a very talented guy. He's an excellent communicator. He makes a lot of great points. I don't fully trust him. I think I can maybe agree with like 80% of the things, and then 20% of it seems to be just absolute poison. So there's a suspicions that he might be a Fed or a double agent, something like that. I think there's definitely something to that. He's a 27-year-old megalomaniac. He's a virgin, as Piers pointed out, a closet homosexual. We all kind of suspect that. Don't care. Just be honest about it. Also, yes, he's the Catholic. He's sober, so he's never been drunk, never been stoned, never done any drugs. Yeah. So I don't trust people like that have never kind of toyed with their consciousness a little bit. Yeah. So there's some. Yeah, he admires Hitler, and he's a huge admirer of Stalin, who is his absolute favorite, who was a awful mass murderer. Yeah, and so for those reasons. Also, he was at January 6th. He was calling for people to basically storm the Capitol. And he was under investigation and pled the fifth 100 times, or like 100 times, when he was questioned about whether he was a federal informant. So he's never actually denied it. So there's something off about him. I don't entirely trust him. Yes, he's got the good sound bites, but that's about as far as I can take it. So,
all right, let's get out of this. I got one more issue I want to talk about. How much would you pay to see a knockdown, drag out, full-on boxing match between Nick Fuentes and Harry Sisson? Me, $69.95. I'm there. Steve doesn't quite know who here. Harry Sisson is sort of the equivalent fag on the liberal side.
Okay.
They look almost. I'll try to get a picture of them.
They'd be like 120 pounds or something, 125.
Yeah. Something like that.
They're pretty small guys. Yeah. That would be funny.
Anyway, anybody interested in that? Or
I don't know if either one of them would have enough power to do anything. But I would pay to see it. I think that would be a big event.
Sidney Sweeney kick his ass.
Great.
Yeah. So just for reference, this is Harry Sisson. And you can imagine him fighting Nick Fuentes. It would be the all-time flyweight battle royale, right? So all right. Moving on to the one last issue. Something really bizarre happened on Sunday, and it had to do with the NFL again and rigged sports. And it's becoming now so obvious that I really don't think anybody can deny it. So let's watch. This is a video from a guy named Dave Portnoy, who is a marginal sports commentator. And apparently he had a bet down on the Broncos-Raiders game, Las Vegas Raiders. And just to fill you in, there's a couple things going on here. There were the Broncos were favored by, I believe, 7.5 points. So if the score got within 7 points, and everybody who had the Broncos and gave the points loses their bet. There's also what they call the over-under, which is the total score of the game. At 24-14, it's at 38. The over-under was 40. So if you add 3 points to either team's score and you bet the over, you win. Let's watch what happened in the last 16 seconds of this game. 16 seconds, 10-point lead for the Broncos. The game is over. It is metaphysically impossible to score 10 points and tie the game in 16 seconds or 20. Well, this is 29. It's going to go down to 16 in NFL football. But watch what happens.
We need this entire segment investigated by the NFL. 3rd and 3, there's 24 seconds. The spread is Denver minus 8.5. They were up 24-7, by the way, with like 2 minutes to go. He spikes the ball. Why are you spiking the ball with 16 seconds in a 10-point game? Is beyond me. The game is over. I don't know that I've ever seen a spike in that situation. But we're just starting, boys and girls. We're just starting to get. Now, I want you to watch this next play because he's going to roll out, throw a pass, caught. The clock should run out. They can't get up to spike it. They can't even, to be honest, get close. Pete Carroll, you're a piece of shit. Pete Carroll is one of the great scumbags. I would honestly punch Pete Carroll right in his fucking old fucking face. But, all right, here we go. 16 seconds. Raiders are definitely cheating right now, doing whatever. Big money clearly on the Raiders, plus the points. So they throw down here. There's 9, 8. Watch. He gets up. They call that a delay of game. There's 4 seconds. The game is fucking over. What is that flag? By the way, we're going to rewind it. Jones didn't even fucking do anything. The receiver fucking grabbed him. Watch this. Watch this play again. At the top of your screen. We're going to call this delay a game on the defense with 12 seconds left. They call this, he's down, he gets up and gets fucking grabbed. You call that delay a game? When the game is over? Dude, what are you I've seen 1,000 times worse. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. Go home. Game's over. And then Pete Carroll runs out the field goal unit and kicks a field goal to end the game with no time. This guy, prison. This ref, prison. Pete Carroll, prison. NFL, prison. This is the most rigged game I've ever seen in my entire life. Disgusting. Fucking prison.
Okay, so let's just recap what happened here. We don't need to watch the video. Let's recap what happened. There's about 16 seconds left in the game. Pass is completed. The game is a 10-point game. It's literally impossible to score 10 points in 16 seconds. The pass is completed. A couple of guys get down on the receiver to hold him down. They get up rather quickly. A penalty is called by the ref. They're in field goal range based on the completion. The game is over. There's no benefit to kicking a field goal or trying for a touchdown or even running another play. There's absolutely none. It doesn't affect anything. There are no scoring rules. It's not like if the Raiders added 3 points, it increases their chances of going to the playoffs. They're eliminated. They're not going to the playoffs. There's only one context in which you run out the field goal team and kick a field goal. And that context is an over-under that's set at 40, and you're sitting at 38, and 3 points makes it 41. So everybody who bet the over wins their bet, or you've got a 7.5 point, you got an 8.5 point spread. You're up by 10. You kick a field goal, it goes to 7, and everybody who bet on the Broncos and gave the 8.5 points loses their bet. And anybody who had the Raiders and took the points wins their bet. There is no other context in which this conduct makes any sense. So I'm going to ask you guys, please tell me, what do you think's going on here?
Well, I think there's cheating, and that's not the worst one that I saw. The worst one I saw was a game that was within 2 points. They were on the 23-yard line, hit the fourth down, and he punted. They didn't kick the field goal to win the game.
Yep, that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
I've never seen that, ever. No one punts on the 23-yard line.
No, it was absolutely insane. So the corruption here is completely obvious. What bothers me, Steve, is although it's being talked about in sports Twitter world, no law enforcement, nobody is even interested in investigating. And our friend Jim Mitchell, who I do the football show with during the day today, he's an ex-cop, a homicide investigator like you, Steve. And he said the conduct of the Raiders, their coach, the officials in the last 16 seconds of that game is, he considers it prima facie evidence of corruption, that they were only setting up a situation for the gambling aspect of it. Shouldn't everybody involved in this be investigated, be brought in, put under oath, and put in front of a grand jury?
Well, the way that law enforcement looks at it is that it's just a game. It's just a game. And nobody is going to, unless the fans start demanding by paying with their feet, not buying tickets, not watching the games, not participating, will anything change? As long as people are willing to pay the big bucks to go there, as long as people continue to gamble, as long as people continue to watch it on TV, nobody's going to care. The only thing that changes situations like that are when the fans say, look, enough is enough. You guys are cheating. We're not going to watch anymore. They start losing billions of dollars in revenue. Then things change very quickly.
Right. So you're, thank you, Roland. So you're of the position, which I've seen people take in the last couple of days. Look, that's what you get for betting on sports. It's corrupt. You know it's corrupt. Stop betting on it. So
I mean, and it's just like, you say that that I don't know crap about football, that. But you say that they're cheating, yet you continue to watch. You pay for pay-per-view, you pay for this, you pay for that. People buy tickets to the games. Why, if if they're cheating and they're cheating, why do you go?
Well, because I want.
Why do you watch?
You know what? I'm also a fan of the fan base. The only fan base that ever had a Super Bowl, well, before the Eagles in 2022, had a Super Bowl absolutely stolen from them in 2005. And you know what, Steve? If they do that again, I'm never watching this. And they count on our addiction to this, to the bread and circuses. And Blake, it's also been said.
I mean, that's exactly right. Because as long as you keep watching, as long as you keep paying them money, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. They don't care.
But here's the thing, Steve. What they're doing is illegal. Point shaving is illegal.
Doesn't matter.
If Pete Carroll kicked that field goal because somebody was in his ear saying Vegas needs 3 more points, or the NFL needs 3 more points, everybody involved in that is a felon. And simply for the matter of right and wrong, shouldn't that be exposed? Isn't it worth it?
I'm not arguing the fact that it should be. What I'm trying to tell you is that the police are like whoever the law enforcement agencies that are in charge of that, which I don't know who that would be. I'm assuming the Fed somehow. But, they're like, it's just a game, and the people love what, it hasn't affected the fan base. Nobody cares. Nobody's, crying out that anything should be done except one or two people. And until people start in mass not watching, not going, and not paying, nothing's going to be done, because it's going to take the NFL to go to the law enforcement agency and say, we need this investigated. The commissioners of the NFL, they're not going to do it as long as they're making money.
Behind it. I think Roger Goodell is a fucking war criminal.
But you got to have a complainant. You got to have somebody who is a complainant, and a fan is not going to be a complainant.
In a republic, the government cannot be put into motion unless a citizen puts them into motion by filing a complaint. So instead of screaming about it on Twitter and YouTube, maybe you should file a lawsuit and see if we can get anyone with that.
They're not going to, because I'm just telling you, people are so addicted to sports.
Yeah.
They could blatantly rig every game and idiots would still watch it.
Oh, you mean like the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight? Blake, you're a football fan. Am I wrong here? Do you see an alternative explanation for that scenario in the last few minutes? It seems to me like the Raiders, Pete Carroll, and the refs were kind of in cahoots there to shave 3 points off that score, or add 3 points to the score and shave it off the Broncos point spread. Am I crazy?
No, not at all. And I am absolutely very qualified on this one, because I was a Vegas bartender for 15 years. I worked in the sports books hundreds of times. I worked in the MGM Grand. I saw all of the people. What Dave Portnoy did, and I know he took a lot of shit for it. I was one of the few people that kind of stood up for it, because that is perfectly normal behavior in the sports book when people lose these like just weird ending, these style of games. So he does have a point. Now, he plays way too much money, and he shouldn't be uploading his meltdowns. I hadn't seen that clip that you just pulled, though. So now he's calmly explained it. And I was already on board with it, but I'm glad he explained it, because people do need to see that. There was no reason for the Raiders to kick a field goal there. Yeah, they could throw a touchdown just for whatever to save face. That's one thing. But when the clock was stopped like that, there was no other reason for it, unless it looks like it's trying to swing the spread. And whether it was the over or under the spread,
you could argue that if they lined up and threw a ball to the end zone and tried to get a touchdown, you could even argue that, our quarterback Geno Smith got injured. This is our backup quarterback. We want to try. We want to give him a play here and try something and see if it works. But kicking a field goal, that's about nothing except the point spread, Brooks. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And they are manipulating it based upon, I think the best outcome for Vegas, the best outcome for the people that are actually paying off on the bets.
Yeah.
Dave had $250,000, I believe. Not that he put on it, but that he would have won as part of this parlay. So, yeah, he's pissed because he just got cheated out of $250,000 off of a play that never should have happened.
Well, right. Then sue. Let's go to court. Of course, that's all corrupt too. So,
yeah, it's also sports gambling and it's entertainment. So
and then there's some people that say the NFL changed their business description and all their filings to file themselves as a sports entertainment business for entertainment purposes only. I believe it said so.
As long as people like you are going to keep watching Mike, as long as you're going to keep traveling to go see games, as long as you're going to keep paying that money, they're going to keep doing it. Guaranteed. No, nothing's going to happen. This is a moot argument.
All right. On that cheery note, we will end the show. I'll be back tomorrow with Jen for Tell the Truth Wednesday, and I'll be on with Whiskey and Wisdom with the original Mark Z and Zester tomorrow night. Everybody have a great Tuesday. I'm glad you came here and got the real news. We love you. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for
the round table on the internet right here.
And why are people watching Tim? I don't know. But thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.